Okay, welcome to CX Exchange Success Hour. Super excited today. We're going to be discussing how we got the job, our secrets and challenges overcome. These are three community members of CX Exchange, Divya Apte, Rachel Askin, and Shaun Porcar, who all have recently gotten jobs in this challenging tech environment, and thought that it would be fantastic if they could share some insights and resources so we can all sort of dig in and share the wealth with each other. So I'm going to take it off of share for a second, and if we can just get some quick introductions around so we can dig into the topic here. Divya, you're first in my corner here, so if you can start, then Shaun, then Rachel.
Hi, everyone. I think a lot of you probably know me already. This is like my third co-hosting session, I think, with Jen. It's great to be back. I recently joined a early stage startup. It's a AI native company, and I'm the VP of product and client experience there. Today was a big milestone for us. We actually launched our website, so it's really exciting. And we're really knee deep in trying to define our product, the architecture, and all of that good stuff, trying to get to market early next year. And my first business trip is actually tomorrow to Seattle, where I get to meet the team in person and really start digging into the work face to face. So really excited about that, and good to be here.
Awesome. Shaun.
Thanks, Jan. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. Lovely to see so many familiar faces, and look forward to meeting some new folks as well. Fortunate to be part of the CX Exchange for quite a while now. So I believe this is the second session that I've had the opportunity to co-present. I'm based here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I've been focused on customer success for probably the better part of the last decade, if not even further back, when I was more of a sales and account management function. And recently I joined a growth stage startup, a Series C company that's in the midst of a bit of a product evolution, going from a company that offers chat APIs to a company that is currently developing and bringing a business messaging platform to market. My role there is heading up the America and EMEA team, and looking forward to just really diving into everything that this company is doing, and sharing everything that I've learned throughout the past few months of my search here with you today.
Awesome. And Rachel.
Hey everyone, Rachel Askin. I've been a longtime member of the CX Exchange, but first time being co-host, I guess, or co-lead, whatever we're calling it today. So excited to have the conversation with you all, and to give you a little bit of background on me. I recently started as the director of customer success in the US for a company called Incredibuild. It's an acceleration platform for DevOps engineers. A lot of our customers are in the game development space, financial space, and some others as well. This is my 7th tech company in the last 13 years. I started in support before pivoting very intentionally to customer success. I've worked primarily with engineers and developers throughout that time. And in my most recent job search, for context, I was laid off in April, and it took about 4 months from that point until I started my current role. So lots more to say as we move forward, but again, excited to be here and looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah. And, that was something we were just talking about too, right? And so Divya, it took you how long in between roles then? Oh, you're on mute.
So I was actually laid off from my job last year, end of September, but I really didn't start doing any sort of job search until maybe the start of the year in January. Okay. So I kind of took the 3 months. I was working with you, Jan, in brushing up my resume, and I was also enrolled in a class that Ed Powers was teaching, and that involved like a huge final exam and like a project that I need to complete. So my mind was completely focused on that. I wasn't thinking about job search. So really starting in, in January is when I was like, okay, I need to find something now. So it took about 6 months.
Wow. Okay. And Shaun, it was longer for you though, right?
Yeah, I spent over a year, but similar to what Divya shared, I wasn't focused the entire time on exploring new opportunities, although that was a part of, what I spend time doing daily. I've got young kids in elementary school, a little one, going into kindergarten. So, I just thought that it was important to spend, time with the family, and then opportunistically started doing some advising with a variety of early stage companies. So, I enjoyed just, being fortunate to have that sort of a runway in front of me, because there's definitely a lot of challenges out there facing, virtually every company that I spoke with. And, it was important for me not to, rush into, joining a new company, but to really make sure that, it was a team that I was going to get along with, and it was one that I was really excited about the future of. And, that's what I spent, the better part of this past year doing, just being more focused and intentional on those efforts, as opposed to kind of splitting my time across, family, startups, advising, and mentorship, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, great. Well, let's dig in then to really kind of exploring. Let's see, now I have to find, there we go. And so these were some of the things we were talking about in terms of, what helped each of you as you were looking for your role, right? And so maybe we can talk about some of these things. When we talk about identify your checklist, it's really understanding what are your priorities? What are you looking for? Oftentimes when people are looking, when they're in between, they'll be like, well, that's okay. I'll just go for everything, right? And in fact, it's when you narrow your search that then you become more directed in where you're searching, how you articulate what your goals are, how people can help you. And different opportunities still come up and still present themselves. And Divya is an example of that, right? Because Divya, you were looking for a VP of CS role when instead now you're doing something that's kind of a quasi product CX kind of role at a startup.
Yeah, so my background's actually in software engineering, and over the years I've done product management, project management, strategy, bids, and including customer success. My last role was actually VP of CS at a SaaS company, and so when I was thinking about job search and strategy, that's basically what I was looking for, was like another VP role, maybe even a director role, but sticking with customer success. But in the industries that I wanted to be in, which were artificial intelligence, computer vision, and robotics, I wanted to step away from SaaS, partly because I felt like the job market was just super saturated with people looking for roles within SaaS. So that was one of the differentiating factors that I thought that I could put in as my target search criteria. But what ended up happening was that this is a story that I'll come to maybe when we talk about the stuff that's on my slide, but I ended up at a early stage startup, which was another thing that I did not want to do, but I ended up doing. But it was in the AI space. And when I talked to the founder, everything that she was telling me was just so exciting. I really wanted to be part of that growth of the company. I get to define what the product is. I have a say in every single thing that goes into the product, but also keeping the customer in mind. And so I'm still using a lot of the client, customer experience, customer success things that I've done previously in my role, and bringing that into this product. But yeah, it's exactly that. It's like a mishmash, if you will, of many different things that I've done.
Great. And Shaun, I'm going to show where they can get the resource here, but the target search profile, that's something that's back here. And you actually developed, a lot of things here. So in the forward, you wrote a blog post about writing a forward forwardable email. And try and say that 3 times fast. Or even
It's a long one
once.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. And then your search profile, and that's a link that people can click on. And I showed briefly, but what were you doing to identify your target and then express that and share that when you were networking?
Yeah, so the search profile is a tool that I've used for many years, and it's something that's just a summary of my background. It's not designed to be a resume, but it's something that I can share with folks that I'm networking with. And included in that is a brief couple of bullets focused on what I'm looking to do. Specific size companies, stage companies, specific roles, specific industries, that sort of thing, right? It's sort of a document that you can make your own. But one of the things that I've encouraged folks to do with this particular tool, especially if you haven't spent time really thinking about, what you're looking for, or if you've encountered some of the obstacles, in this, challenging market, is to use this as a way to find that focus, to think about, okay, what have I done recently, or which roles do I believe are the best for me to focus on, and use this document to really find alignment in your thinking, so that way when you're out there, and we'll talk more about this, whether it's proactively networking with your peers, with folks that you would work with cross-functionally, sales, marketing professionals, for example, connecting with folks who are part of the investment community, especially if you're involved in early and growth stage startups. This really shows maturity, and just really provides a way for folks to see what you're interested in, and very quickly help you, especially if you're looking to join a company that is moving very quickly, right? You want someone to be able to just think of your name in that conversation they had with you a few weeks or maybe a few months ago, quickly pull up some brief information about you, use that information to maybe craft either a personal introduction, or even if it's just sharing your LinkedIn profile, right? Doing this is just putting in a little bit of extra work, a little extra homework, right? That helps folks, think of you when an opportunity or even a conversation, comes up that might be of benefit or aligned with what you're looking for. Of course, there's lots of other, things that you can do to further develop this, but I found that this, it appears as a half a page in a Google document, but it's actually something that I would paste into a lot of the emails and the DMs that I was sending, right? When someone would ask me what I'm looking for, I'd follow up with this and say, hey, okay, happy to join or be supportive of any conversation. And then when I work with folks who are also looking, I would suggest that this is something that they could do to really, focus their thinking and use as a follow-up, right? That first conversation or Slack conversation, whatever it may be, that's the start of a relationship. That is not the end of the relationship. So you want to, look for opportunities to engage with folks, and, sharing things that you're interested in or sharing what you're looking for is a great way to start that conversation, or ask for feedback from someone, particularly if it's an investor, or maybe someone who's part of an executive team who's got access to a network that you would love to, break into, or at least hopefully have your name circulated within.
Well, and even though the three of you are all at leadership level roles, it's something to note, though. There's, especially if you're looking for an early stage startup, a lot of times they're looking for someone who is a first in CSM or first in CS leader. And so if you have something like this put together that shows your experience and interest and shows that you're targeting, then this is something that can really help as you're, whether you're meeting, whether it's investors or, people who are in startups, but maybe not in CS, right? Especially if you're going to be first in. So who you network with and how you extend your network beyond even just CS can be really significant. And Rachel, I think part of too, then your you got a job, where you were very focused. I mean, in this environment, getting a job in 4 months is sort of like overnight. Even though I'm sure it didn't feel like it was overnight for you. But I was just I think part of it, when we were discussing, is that you really knew your story and knew how to translate it. So I'd love to hear kind of what you're sharing with that.
Yes, absolutely. Knowing your story, and Mike just put that in the chat too, fortuitously. So I know this is something that people are thinking about. Knowing your story and being able to articulate it clearly and succinctly, unlike I am doing right now, is really, really important. Part of that is identifying your ideal role, knowing what you are looking for, and equally as important, knowing what you do not want to do. I'm a firm believer in that. Like you said, Jan, earlier, it's easy to just throw out your resume and throw a whole bunch of applications out there, but really staying focused in not just your job search and not just in the networking that you're doing, but also when you do get the interview, all of that practice helps you then tell your story in a really concise way when you're asked. Every recruiter, every hiring manager will ask, why do you want this role? Right. And having been on the other side of that table many times, I've been on both sides of the table many times in my career. I always ask that of candidates that I'm speaking to as well, because I always want to hire somebody who really wants this job. There are a lot of candidates who, and it's easy to fall into, and I myself have fallen into this as well, where you are in a position where you really need a job and you don't actually, I don't want to say you don't care what it is, but there is an element of that. At least for me, there has been at previous points in my career. And that comes across, even if you don't say that explicitly, that comes across in how you answer that question of why do you want to come work here? Why do you want this role specifically? And so knowing your story and knowing how to hit on those high points that really highlight what you're bringing to the table and why you're passionate about it are really, really critical. For me, it was, I want to work for a company whose product helps the customers do their work more effectively and efficiently. And the more I told that story, the better I was at fine tuning it to apply to this application or that application, with the nuances between roles or between companies. So it's definitely something that is a key part of every step in your job search, from the search all the way through whatever interviews you're landing.
Yep. Yeah. And we've touched on networking a little bit, and I'm sure we'll go back to it. But Divya, you already mentioned that you were doing a number of different courses. You were switching industries. You were really digging into AI, both self-taught as well as taking, courses, whether they were free or paid, available online. Do you want to talk about a little bit about, upskilling and how that helped you, especially in terms of, because you had already identified a specific area that you wanted to go into?
Yeah. So a couple of things there. So the first thing, and I think probably one of the best things that I did when I was networking, was actually talk to Emma Lowe. I know she's here on the call, but she was just fantastic. I mean, the first call that I had with her, there was just so many things that I learned. And I've also thanked her many times. So I'm going to say it again. Thank you, Emma. But she was the one that introduced me to another leadership community called Pavilion. And it just so happened that when I was looking into what they were doing, what they were up to, that they had a executive dinner, and they were giving away like 2 or 3 free tickets for anyone that could come join. And it was in LA. It was a bit of a drive for me, but I thought, hey, who cares? Like, let me just go. Yeah. And then I bumped into you, Jan. So that was exciting. I didn't know that you were part of Pavilion as well. But so, getting to be part of that community and being able to talk to literally every single person that was in areas other than CS, right? So you're looking at all revenue functions, sales, marketing, of course, CS, but product. And there were all these founders, entrepreneurs, everyone's coming in there, people that know a lot more than I did about AI. So it was great. It was really great to engage with all those people. And one of the other things, and the reason why I started taking these courses, was also burnout, right? I mean, I had started my job search, and it was just this constant day in and day out of just applying. And there were some days that I just did not want to do that. But it was also something that I knew I needed to do. So my way of upscaling and taking these courses was really to just pad my resume and to show people that I was still invested in this, right? I may not be like doing my job search every single day, but I was still doing something that was adding value to that story, or to that interview process, right? That would actually get me to the next step. And so, yeah, Pavilion has like great, really good courses. In fact, one of the first ones that I took was an AI course, and that's where I met the founder, who now is my boss. I ended up working for her. And so you never know who you're going to meet, but it's like this, taking courses is a great thing to do for upskilling, but you're also sort of networking at the same time. So you're kind of, checking off multiple boxes there.
Yeah, and Pam asked in the chat if people really, hiring people, care about courses as much as experience. And I would say, like, if somebody has like a CS certification, like there's the online, certifications, things like that. Yeah, I think it's exactly what Trevor's saying in the chat. It's like it shows initiative. It shows that you're engaging, that you're trying to upskill. I don't think that they're saying, oh, well, if they took this course and they got 90%, then that must mean they can walk in on day one, kind of thing. It's not so much that, but it is important, I think, to show that you're engaging, in trying to learn more. And you can, speak to that by, reading books or engaging in communities, as well as taking courses, a variety of different things. We do need to move along. So maybe we can speak to the other topics as we're going through this challenges slide here. But did you, if you had a shorter stint or if you had a longer search than expected, how did you speak to those things? What kinds of things that we also talked about, like companies when they didn't really know what they needed and they'd sort of come back, a couple of different times and things like that. Here, why don't we try and talk through some of these topics here?
I can talk about the shorter stints for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I had 2 companies in a row prior to my current role. For 2 companies in a row, I was laid off at the 11-month mark. The first one, I was the head of customer success for a Series A startup that was in the developer portal space, and their board made a decision to shift customer success into more of a technical role. It wasn't quite technical account manager or a TAM role, but they wanted to move CSMs in that direction, and they brought somebody in who had exponentially more years of experience than I did. And then at the company I went to immediately after that, again, was laid off at 11 months because the company did move specifically to customer success as TAMs. And they no longer were going with the previous model, which was having customer success organized by region, where I was managing the East Coast region of CS. So both of those were really big bummers. I was expecting to be at both of them for, at the time, I was expecting to be there for a long time. And it led pretty heavily to me feeling pretty strong burnout, as Divya was talking about earlier. And for me personally, I powered through it, which is not the best. I fully admit that's not necessarily the best way to go about addressing burnout. My personal situation is I've got twin daughters who are about to turn 1, and my husband also is unemployed. So there was no opportunity for me to sit back and really reflect and take some time. I wish I could have, I wanted to, but I just couldn't. That being said, the things that I did to overcome this pretty big hurdle of the emotional side of these back-to-back layoffs at that time was throwing myself into, I also joined Pavilion, and I joined a couple of other paid programs. And I also reached out to more on the individual level. I did not put out a public LinkedIn, I'm looking for work post. But I did, after a couple of months, I did put the open for roles banner on my LinkedIn profile. But I reached out to some individuals that I knew and asked, if, raised my hand and said, hey, I'm unemployed. If you have anything that I can help with, let me know. And so I got involved in building up some communities, one for a startup, for a founder that I know, and the other one is in Boston. We just had our first event. It was a Boston customer success networking event. And so keeping myself busy with tangible projects aside from my job search helped me feel like I was still doing something meaningful and productive, even when I wasn't getting responses, or I was getting form rejection emails, or I was waiting for the next interview to be scheduled, whatever it was. Keeping myself as busy as I could in productive ways was really, really helpful.
And that reminds me, Divya actually co-led a session, how to optimize your health, wealth, and relationships. And that was a key strategy that you had, Divya, during your job search. And so that's something that's on our resources page. If you just go to our website, what is our website link? I wonder if anyone knows it. Could you put it in the chat? All right. Anything else in here then? Oh, come on, please. Somebody know the link. I'm seeing a lot of great comments, but I really want to see someone put our link to our website. Yay, Christine. Yay, Jay. Thank you. All right. So then otherwise, I think networking is something that we should probably cover before we move off to our breakout groups, because I think that's pretty key, right? And Fran, did you have a question or something you wanted to weigh in and chime in on?
I don't think, and I don't know if this is the place to address it, but one of the things that I'm being hit with is 5 layoffs in 15 years, like 3, 4 in a row now. And you start to feel disposable. And I'd love for somehow we could, and maybe that's a different meeting, but I just wanted to bring it up because it's really, it's been challenging for me anyway. Just wanted to weigh in on that.
That's a great point you make. And I think that especially in tech has lots of ups and downs, right? Because it's been impacted by the macro economy. It's also impacted by, lots of other things. When you take a look at, startups, 80% of them don't make it, right? And then as you go along, they still, may or may not make it. There was the largest number of startups shutting down it was over 3,300, I think, of VC funded startups shut down in 2023 alone, right? And so when you take a look at that, you can start to feel disposable, but I think ultimately what you want to take from that is empower yourself, right? Be your own agent. This is why we have communities that you should stay engaged in throughout your career and in between, while you're in roles, in between searching, but also thinking about in that respect, how you keep that network healthy and alive. And that's actually one of our breakout questions is, how you stay engaged with the CS community or with your industry network, when you need it and when you don't, right? And how you balance, the tactical job search and emotions and support when you're doing that job search. So certainly we can, touch on that as we go to breakouts. But was there anything else that Divya, Shaun, Rachel, you wanted to mention, whether it's around networking or specifically what Fran was just bringing up?
I mean, I'll share something, related to what you just shared, Fran. And, I think the reality is that there are folks out there that have not been through or seen or aware of your experience. And again, this is an experience that's much more normal, as particularly those of us that have lived through, the crisis in 2008, and certainly this one, or even folks that have been in their career much longer, right? These things happen. This is normal, right? Early stage companies, startups in general, they're risky, right? And I think that there are folks that have not been down that path, although more have over the last couple of years. And as a result, I was finding, much more empathy and understanding there. But ultimately, if you're not finding that the first few folks that you're speaking to an organization understand your perspective, most likely they're not going to value what you bring to the table, and you're probably speaking with the wrong team, right? You're not a good fit, and it's not you, it's them, right? There are opportunities out there to continue your conversations with folks who do understand, who will value you. And I think it's important to remember that and focus on that. I was fortunate that early in my career, I was, in a sales role and just became pretty comfortable with hearing no from a lot of folks that I would speak with. And I, just generally don't take that stuff personally. I know that the right opportunity is out there. And I want to encourage you and others who are experiencing that to, just keep that in mind, when you're talking with folks who generally are biased against some of the things that you've experienced in your career.
Yeah, and I would echo that. And like I said, there's a number of different sessions that we've done around this, but I do think, how you stay sort of balanced is definitely one to check out, because it is hard, right? I liken it to the online dating that, so many folks, I actually did find a husband through online dating. I wasn't necessarily husband hunting, but you're looking for relationships, I guess, that's why you're doing online dating, right? And when you think about it, though, it's a numbers game, and it's the same sort of thing with jobs. Whether you're looking for someone you're going to, work with every day or live with every day, right? So it's just something to keep in mind. You got to find the right match. And that's what it really matters in the end. And there can be a lot of great companies out there, and you can be a really great employee, but if it's not the right match, it just doesn't set up. So does everybody have the links for the slides and the breakout notes? Do we need to post that again? All right. Why don't we go away for 18 minutes and then take really good notes, and we'll have a few minutes to share when we come back. Okay, did I catch you all mid-sentence?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it was definitely mid-sentence.
Yeah, it doesn't do the 60-second whatever reminder now. So what kinds of insights or resources, what kinds of things were shared? Anybody have something they want to be sure everyone else gets? Or just share with me? Just pretend it's just you and me.
I loved hearing that a couple folks are using Dex, DEX. It's a little more of a personal CRM than something that you would buy to lean into a job search. But that's a tool that I came across maybe 6 or 8 months ago, and contemplated spending the money, was already doing the Google spreadsheet thing, so I ended up deciding not to. But I heard some aspects of it that seemed particularly interesting, and that's actually something that I might consider investing in anyways. Just continuing the conversations here.
Nice. All right, good. Anybody have a link for it? A few people are saying they like it. And yeah.
Emma reminded us that we need to stay relevant with other disciplines. So she suggested that we reach out into sales and revenue. So she gave us a couple of links, and I thought that was a great idea to stay, connected to other.
Good. Emma, if you want to share those links, I can also add them over in Slack. Or is this all of no, this is slides and resources. Okay. But, and that's a great point, right? Because sometimes the folks who know about the jobs or just can give you a different perspective on what's happening at the company. There's just a lot of different reasons why you want to broaden your network, get different perspectives, lots of reasons to connect with folks, right? And any other things that came up when you were in the breakout session that you think you want to be sure that folks?
In our group, we were talking about both reconnecting with folks you've worked with in the past You know, I mean, no time like the present, really. And really kind of following up on where people are now. And then also really connecting into conversation with your industry. Like if you've got a particular industry in terms of software that you've worked in, and being part of those conversations, and, you know, just engaging in the comments often is enough to really start getting people curious about you, and leading with something to add to the conversation, just like as if you were doing it in person, and leading with value in terms of, you know, what you can offer.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of the folks who are on LinkedIn a lot during the day. Yeah, they're probably in sales at some point, but they might be AEs, they might be founders. And they're also kind of out there doing some solutioning, you know, to try and create their own inbound funnel. And being involved in those conversations, you can kind of create your own, you know, inbound leads.
Right. Absolutely. In fact, one thing I just will leave you with is whether you're in a role or if you're not in a role, and it's part of why we asked the question the way we did in the for the breakouts, is to continue with your network, comment, you know, on people's posts. Find a way to post more regularly yourself, if you can. If not, at least do comments on other people's posts and get into those conversations, because that's how you build relationships. And those relationships then are things that come back to you even years down the road. And that was something that I was discussing with someone who was in my LinkedIn network over the weekend. And he was posting about how basically he got his job from somebody. He had commented on his post and shared a post and things like that, like 2 years ago. And he's been in and out of the job market as well. And this job that he has now is because of someone he knew from 2 years ago. So, you know, it's really, you know, think about how you build your network, how you maintain your network, and how you extend it out. It's often too those weak links that help you get the roles, right? It's not necessarily just someone that you know directly. It's someone that they, you know, someone who knows them or someone who knows them. It's those second and third removed connections. So, and then also, I don't know, Jay, you're here still. Good. Jay, you have talentway.io, which is a great partner to CX Exchange. Do you want to just maybe share a little bit about your platform?
Thanks, Jen. We haven't announced anything yet because we are planning the release for job seekers in September, in the end of September. So after we do it, and the CX Exchange will be the first place where we'll do the announcement and suggest some beta testers first, because we really care about the quality. The idea is to implement this personalized matching, so you are matched with all customer success jobs in the US, and you get all the right jobs where you have the best chances, and you can focus and apply only with the companies where you have a lot of potential. And also for all the customers that we are onboarding as original jobs, we'll invite people from our community directly to the interviews without a need to apply. So we think it can be a game changer, and it will take some time to make it a new industry solution, but hopefully in a few months, everyone can use it, and the job search might be much easier in customer success. We are thinking to expand to GTM roles later, but we will be still very focused on customer success and some other roles.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of our contributors today, our co-leads, Divya, Shaun, and Rachel. Really appreciate it. I know it's a late night, especially even for you, Rachel, on the East Coast, and Divya needing to pack up on her way out. But really appreciate all of your contributions today and your weekly wins. And, you know, just stay in it. And for those of you who are also already in roles, be sure to, you know, spread spread your wings and bring in the networking and share with others. So we'll see you next week. Cynthia Silva is going to be leading next week. I'm going to be traveling, and we are going to be discussing LinkedIn, I believe, right? No, not LinkedIn. Oh, it's about strategy. Wait, shoot. Now I've really mussed it up. It is how to use strategic empathy to decrease churn and increase revenue. There we go. That is the topic next week. And I think it's going to be really fascinating and good conversation. So, all right. See you next week. Thank you so much. Appreciate seeing you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of Success Hour, formerly known as CS Office Hours. We regularly put out new content, so to be the first to know, like this episode, tap that notification bell, hit that subscribe button, and we look forward to seeing you soon.